This is Healing Through Love. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Healing Through Love. My name is Olivia Luna, and I'm just a 32-year-old single woman who has never been in love before. And this podcast is my journey to find a healthy, healing, monogamous relationship. On my journey, I have met some incredible people, and I am so excited today. I have my two amazing co-founders of Solidarity Media, Ellie Cano and Celina Tatsuko. Glad to have you both here. So just some quick intros. Celina is a creative marketing operations specialist and has worked with brands such as Verizon, L'Oreal, Microsoft, Comcast, Xfinity, Walmart, the list goes on. And she's currently working with DraftKings. Currently, she lives in South Jamaica, Queens, New York, and is looking forward to working for herself one day. Ellie is a production manager, professional in TV, film, and digital content who also produces for luxury events. She was born in Phoenix, Arizona. She's lived in several different states, but calls New York City home for the past 9 years. Ellie loves watching TV, dancing, but spends most of her free time these days getting ready and planning for her wedding. Very exciting. Ellie, how are you feeling about that?
I'm feeling good. I'm trying to take a very calm approach. I'm trying to not stress and just know that it's going to happen, that it's going to be great, that I just want to have fun and be around loved ones. That's what I'm focusing on. So I think it'll be fun.
That's great. Awesome. Celina, how are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm happy to see you both. And I'm so excited that we could so you two are actually my first interviews on this podcast. And I think it's very fitting because we've started Solidarity Media together. And I couldn't think of any better people who have really helped and supported me on this journey. And for those who don't know, I started this as a result of joining a matchmaking service. And when I first did it, literally 5 minutes after I did it, you guys, I texted you all and was like, I don't know what the fuck I just did. I think I just did something stupid. And really just the encouragement and support you both kind of showed, no judgment, just really, having my back, saying this is going to be great for you. I couldn't have asked for a better response, and to just have you guys in my corner has just been amazing. So thank you.
Yay, I'm glad.
Yeah.
Yes. Awesome. So I want to kind of start maybe a little bit from the beginning. If you guys can maybe share about how you sort of grew up and how you were kind of taught to love in your childhood. So Celina, why don't we start with you?
Okay. Well, I also grew up in Arizona, but in Tempe, Arizona. And I grew up, I would say, my parents are still married. But it was not without struggle. I've definitely seen my parents argue and fight. I have a younger sister who's 11 years younger than me, and I actually witnessed her birth. And was my parents wanted us to be close, so they really had me be a part of it. Um, but how I would express, how I feel like I grew up in relation to love is I saw my parents argue, and kind of the roles they play were different from your typical gender roles that you see in movies and what we're taught in life, I guess. My mom was out working, and she would work long hours, and she was up early and would come home late. And my dad had more of a teacher schedule for a while I was young, wasn't working at all, and was doing the laundry, cleaning, cooking, taking care of the household. So I grew up and went to school and then became socialized and realized how outside of the norm that was.
Mm.
So when I reflect on how I saw love, I would say untraditional, and kind of very, my parents have very different ways of approaching life too. So I got to see two very different people coexist and still be themselves. So I feel like that's something that I want to keep in my relationships moving forward.
I love that. And I love that word, untraditional way of loving. I think that's amazing. Yeah. Ellie, how about you?
It's funny because I feel like Selena and I live very parallel lives. And we didn't know it until we met in college. because same. My parents were not the traditional gender roles. My mom was, well, she became a nurse at 40 after she had me. And so she was working super long hours. My dad working, but as a chef at a hospital. So he was the one mainly in the kitchen cooking. He was always in the yard making things and just creating, and my mom really taking care of the bills and bringing home most of the money. So I I kind of saw that dynamic, and as well as my parents having their struggles too. Like I always remember this time where like I kind of almost thought they were going to get divorced. I wasn't sure if they actually loved each other. They weren't very like physically loving in front of anyone. And so but they were very loving to me. They've never missed a beat with me. Like I never ever felt left out or anything. I saw my friends like being spoiled with items, and I just was like, I wasn't spoiled with food. Like I could just say, Papi, yo tengo hambre, and he would just like serve me up some food. And I don't know, I just felt very, very always just taken care of. And I saw that my brother and sister, they're 9 and 11 years older than me, and they have a different dad. And I saw some shaky dynamics between them and my dad sometimes. So that always made me feel a little strange. But between the love of me and my parents that like never wavered. So I'm not sure exactly how to describe it, but I always felt very secure in the love that I like received from my family, I think.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, I think you both kind of touched on something that I actually just sort of was talking about with another friend recently. Just about like, I don't know, either it might be maybe like cultural kind of dynamics to this, but just that like generational understanding of, how we love and how we sort of like um undo or try to like break against like those gender norms. Parents who maybe like moms who are having to raise the kid and do the job and like do all of these things, a dad who's maybe more stay at home and a little bit more like hands on. I think that that's something that I definitely sort of resonated with, and just like understanding like, because my caregivers were sort of having to do things in an untraditional way, it kind of resulted in me having these very more open-minded or like broad viewpoints on just like myself and the world, and how we love each other, how we care and show affection to one another. And now, especially, like I'm trying to do the work of like undoing a lot of the sort of generational trauma, because sacrifice was like a big theme in my family dynamic of just like, we have to do the work. We have to like, put the time in to be successful and to do these things. And meanwhile, cultivating kind of healthier relationships sometimes got put like on the back burner. So yeah, I really just both resonated with what you both kind of just shared about that. And that's great that, Ellie, I think you have a secure attachment style. We were talking before the record here. Ellie didn't know about what attachment style she had. I feel like based on what you just said, you do have a very secure attachment style, but we'll maybe get into that a little bit later. Can we now, let's jump forward a couple years into like maybe young adult life, right? Early dating days. How was that for the both of you? Who were you in your relationships? Did you enjoy dating? If so, if not, why was that? Ellie, why don't we start with you?
I would say that as I was growing up and dating, I don't know, I wasn't dating. Like I was talking to guys. I was always in that talking.
We're always just talking.
Just talking. Like, I don't know, maybe going out on a date, literally just talking to guys. And like I always talked about this proverbial mountain or hill, and we would be climbing and just fizzle out, just tumble right back down. It would nothing would happen. Like I would just be talking to guys, and either I would get bored or he would ghost me, or I don't know, like we would just never get over that hump. And I talked to one guy on and off for like 6 years. Not great. Like just one of those not great situations where we just always went back to each other because we didn't have anything else to do. And I think that it took me a while to understand like if this was going to happen for me. But I always had this thought in the back of my head that I was like, it'll happen one day. Like, it'll happen for me. But I never lost this little hope. But I was like, I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't where, because it hasn't happened at all. But then it finally did. And then when it did, I was like, oh my God, I got over that mountain. I looked at him, I was like, are we really on the same page? Like going forward together? Really? So that was great.
Yep. Again, secure attachment style, that mindset of like, it'll happen, it'll be good, it'll be great. Yeah.
Oh, is that what that
Yes.
is? Okay, great.
And Celina, I know. Celina, how about
I would say that I had a very like, if we're talking, if I'm associating it with an attachment style in my younger, I'm thinking like college years of dating because high school I didn't really like date. And also in college it was like talking. Oh, I'm talking to this guy. I did have like a serious guy that I really liked in college, and it ended up he was cheating on me and took someone else's virginity. And so that was pretty like heartbreaking at the time, like for my 21, 22-year-old self. Um, but I mean, I don't have anything negative to say about him, but I will say I like post that like 22 and beyond. I was very much like, I don't want to get close. I don't want to be too involved. Like we can talk. Don't tell anyone. This is nothing. Like very much under the radar dating is what I would call
you?
it. Like,
Yeah.
no, I didn't feel beholden to anyone. I didn't want anyone to feel beholden to me. Like if a week later they had a girlfriend, I was like, great, just don't text me anymore. Like, I don't feel any way about it.
Mm.
Um, but as I got older, because I stayed like pretty single, like I had a relationship in my late 20s, but that um was like a lesson, we'll call it that. That was a lesson. But um now like I dated for a little bit when I first moved to New York, and that was so fun. Like I feel like I had a very like maybe anxious. I was very like curious about people. And so the people I would meet were unlike any people I would ever meet in Arizona. So I just was like, wow, yeah, tell me your whole life story. I want to know. Um, so yeah, I guess it's changed. First, I was very like did not after my heartbreak, did not want to be attached or tied down. And then as I grew, I was like, oh, I want to know more things about people.
Nice. Yeah. So an avoidant style at the beginning. And then you said you transitioned into more. I think you're more in a secure place now. I wouldn't say that curiosity leans necessarily to anxiety, but like I can see that transition for sure happening after such a a shitty heartbreak like that. I think I was very similar as well too, like similar to you, Ellie. Like I didn't really start dating or anything, or similar to both of you. Like we didn't start dating or anything until college, right? Like that. That experience just felt like really delayed for me in a lot of ways. And so then I was like trying to figure it out like at a very young age when I barely even knew who the hell I was, let alone like trying to get to know somebody else. Um, and similar, I hadn't really like had like a major heartbreak or anything, but I was very kind of avoidant in the beginning of just like, okay, I don't want to. I was focused on my career. I was focused on like graduating and like being successful and going off and do these big things. So I wanted that to be my focus. And again, trying to pull away from that generational trauma of just like women in my family who for the most part would just get married, have kids, and that was sort of the pattern. I really wanted to break away from that and just like have this different kind of life. And for me, a romantic relationship just seemed like the last thing on the plate, So I was like very, very avoidant in my early dating years. But then, yeah, as I got older, as I moved to New York City, realizing like I want to be in a relationship, I want to find love, that more kind of anxious style started to come up a little bit for me. So you both now are in some very loving, wonderful relationships. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you met your person, how things are going, how things have been? Celina, you want to start us off?
Okay. I'm like, oh, how I met. Well, um, I met Graydon in like 2009 or 10 or something, because he was dating my best friend from high school at the time.
Mhm.
Um, and they had a very tumultuous relationship. And so I was not close to him. I was obviously like her friend, so I know her side of it. And just from her POV, it was tumultuous. You're young, you're in your 20s, like they're both athletes. You don't know what you want, you're living life. Um, so they ended up breaking up in like 2000 and I don't know, 12, 13, something like that. And mind you, like would randomly keep in touch with her once in a while, randomly would keep up with him on social media, but no like contact. Fast forward to 2018, February, I moved to New York in January of 2018. So it's almost my anniversary. Oh my God, that's that
Hey.
day. Um, but in February, we hung out. In February of 2018, we hung out for the first time since 2000 and probably 12 or whatever, whenever he left Arizona. And we just kind of like never stopped hanging out. I was really nervous to like tell my friend, and we hadn't spoken so long. But I just kind of like sent her this really long text and was just super vulnerable about it. And looking back, it probably warranted like a phone call or a FaceTime because we weren't in the same state. But I didn't expect her to respond, and she responded, "Good luck, I love you." And then um I never heard from her again, but like I heard through other people that she was like messaging them on social media and kind of like attacking them for being my friend,
Mm.
because I was dating him. Um so and like people were obviously telling me that this was happening. So I just continued to date him though, because part of my message to her was like, I feel happy now and I deserve to be happy. And like, I wish it could have been somebody else, but here we are. And
Mm.
um, so now, he and I have gone through definitely like tough times, struggled with communications, like very different backgrounds. Like he grew up in a more traditional household and I didn't. So like figuring that out was like really hard. I would even say like living together was probably when it got the most difficult and figuring out like each other's habits, like clean levels and like thresholds of like what you can handle. But I really do appreciate now it's been like super easy conversations. Like we were just talking the other day and it was like, what's like something like one thing you can always hang your hat on in this relationship? And mine was like that I can always be myself. And I think
Mm.
that's important. And that like brings me a lot of peace and makes me have a different type of attachment style where it's like, okay, good, bad, or ugly. Like you've seen the worst of me now. Like you've seen me super angry and like and super happy. And like you still are just like so loving and so accepting. And that's my favorite thing.
I love that. That's so great. Yeah, when you find somebody that you can just be, your true, authentic self with, like that, that's how you know that are in the right place. And the fact that you guys not only, had like several years of just like friendship underneath that as well too, to kind of just further cultivate like that trust and that understanding. But before I go to Ellie, I want to talk a little bit about that like experience of breaking girl code in a way, I guess. Like, I don't know if that's even really a thing necessarily in this circumstance because they had been apart for quite some time, right? And you guys had a close friendship, but you also hadn't really spoken in quite some time either. So I don't know. And Ellie, feel free to jump in as well too. Like, do you think like does girl code still need to be something that we need to reside by in a society where like people are complex, feelings change, like you suddenly have a connection with somebody that where you can be your authentic self, where you can feel good? Like, is that necessarily a bad thing? Like, if we're friends, I would be happy for you, right? Like, I don't know. So, what do you guys think?
I think that especially if you, I mean, it depends. Every relationship is different. Every friendship is different. So it depends. But I think Selena reaching out, whether that just was just a
Yeah.
text, but a very detailed text, obviously there's emotion there, there's empathy there. That's something. That's more than nothing. That's not just, oh, tossing whatever friendship we used to have to the side. Like, I still care about you in some ways. So I want you to know that this is where I'm going forward, but be happy because I'm happy. Like, let's all just be happy. And also, in Selena's situation, this person went ahead and had a family. She got married.
Married with a
Got married.
child.
Key side note, everybody. Key side note: she is happily married and with a child elsewhere.
Have some context. Like,
But to just play like in my own head, I understood. I've known this person since high school. Like, obviously, I think the heartbreak for me, if I'm putting myself in her shoes, would be like, okay, well, now our friendship has to change. Like, yes, I'm happy for you, but it is like, we're not going to double date anymore. Like, if you dated a stranger, we could catch up every once in a while and like we could all still engage, but it's not like either of them really want to be around each other. So it's like, I get where she's coming from, and being disappointed and like losing a friend because it was something I was bummed about too. And I was like, man, I know the minute I send this text, it's like official, like this dynamic will change. I did not know to what extent at the time, but um, I do get where she's coming from, and I do feel some type of loyalty. Like I'm thinking now, my friends. I know my friends would understand, but I would never date like Raleigh, for example, if whatever, like that just would not happen because Ellie is like family and I would like she has to approve of the people I date and like who would approve of that such like if you're Ellie, she'd be like, okay, I understand people are complex, but like, okay, have fun with that. Bye. Like, so like I get it. I feel like there is girl code to a certain level. Not even girl code, but just like familial code. Like if you feel like someone's family, like maybe that person is just like family and let that be that.
yeah, or
And
like, yeah, or human code, just being
human
being
code.
Yeah.
being good, being how treating someone how you would want to be treated. And so in this
Yeah.
The
situation, how would
golden rule.
I want my friend to tell me probably yes. So like, I guess that's just kind of how like I would look at it too. Not necessarily like, oh, it has to be girl code, it has to be guy code, oh, you're breaking it. But like, are you just being a good person?
I
Yeah.
love that. Common sense, common good. Really love that.
Exceptional sense.
Exceptional
Yes.
sense.
Only
Uh,
exceptional people have it.
love
Okay.
it.
Adopting that.
Yes.
Speaking of Brawley, Ellie, you want to talk about how you and Brawley met? Because this story, like I've heard this story like a couple times now, and I still just, a part of me doesn't want to believe like how just incredible you guys like came together. It just literally plays out like a movie, and it should be a movie one day. Solidarity Media will be producing that. But do you want to, yeah, tell us again about how you guys met?
So actually, it'll be this Saturday, January 21st, will be 10 years to the day that Brawley
Oh,
and I.
snap.
So it was January 21st, 2013. I was a news reporter in Beaumont, Texas, a small town in Texas. And I was going to um, interview a Harlem Globetrotter that morning. And to me, I thought Harlem Globetrotters were really old, retired basketball players, like in their 45, 50, something. And I'm like 22 at this point. And so I didn't look into his profile or whatever until the morning of, and I pull up his bio thinking, okay, I need to prepare for this interview. And I was like, wait a second, you're cute. You're 26. You're from New York. What's happening here? So I was excited to interview this cute guy. And he comes in and I don't know, like immediately, just like the way that he carried himself, like I was immediately attracted to. But it was like 5:30 a.m. I'm the morning show reporter. So he's coming on the morning show. He's obviously tired. I ask him if he wants anything to drink, any coffee, tea, hot chocolate. He says hot chocolate. And I mean, I don't know why that sticks in my mind, because I didn't drink coffee, still don't to this day, neither does he. I was like, oh, that's so cute to me. Okay. And then I was like, all right.
It's also something sensual about that. I don't know why, but like the way you just said it, like hot chocolate. Oh, yes. Okay.
He had me at hot chocolate.
I know.
And then when he was like, all right, bet. I was like, I don't know why. I just thought like the way he carried himself, the way he spoke, I don't know. It was just like,
Swag. The swag.
he had, but then when we got on camera, he like turns it on. He's this cheese character because that's his name and the team. And he was, I could just tell he was just this very vibrant, charismatic personality, and that he had levels to him. And I was just like, wow, okay. And so in between our takes, I'm just, kind of chatting him up a little bit when I didn't have to be. And then instead of asking my friend for advice, because, that's what we all do, in my mind, I was just like, I don't want to let this guy just leave. So I take some of my business cards and I write my cell phone number on the back. And as he's leaving, with him and his representative, I give them both cards. I'm very nonchalant. And I was just like, keep me updated on events coming up. It was so great to meet you. Thank you so much. And in my mind, I was like, all right, ball's in his court. Like, let's see what happens. And he ends up texting me that night. And then I go to his game that weekend in Houston. And we were supposed to see each other after the game. And who knows what would have happened if we would have seen each other after the game. Because we went to the club after the game. So we went to the club. We just were like continuing, like trying to get to know each other. He was like, tell me everything there is to know about you. Go. And I was like, oh. That was really cute.
Love it. Very, very curious. Love it.
Let me tell you about myself.
We love a curious thing.
We're supposed to meet up after that, but I went to go eat with my friends. He fell asleep. We didn't meet up. Hindsight, probably a good thing. So then we just continued to talk after that. We just started talking almost every day, and we were long distance for a year until I moved to New York. So it was all 2013, 2014, I moved to New York. I was living with some roommates. That roommate situation kind of imploded, and we were like, okay, we're going to sit down and have a serious conversation of, are we moving forward? Because if we are on the same track with each other, then we can move in together. But it's not like, oh, we're going to move in, play house, move out, still be together. Like, this is a step forward. And we had that very long conversation. And so we decided to move in together. But before that, actually, another side note about us getting to know each other and building our foundation, like long distance for a year, we weren't officially boyfriend and girlfriend that entire time. Like it was June, he tells me he loves me. July, I tell him I love him. He told me first, and I was like, I need to figure out if this is for me. Like, do I love him, or am I just saying it because he said it? And like, I really did some like introspection, and then I told him a couple weeks later. And then it wasn't until November of 2013 where he very dramatically asks me to be his girlfriend. He makes this video that's a compilation of all of our photos and videos and music we would send to each other. And then he came up on the screen at the end and was like telling me how much he loved me. And he was like, here, read this book. And then in real life, he gives me a book that's like a photo book of like how we met and like all of like our little adventures. And at the end, it's printed, but it like looks like it's handwritten and says, will you be my girlfriend? Yes or no? And he hands me a marker and I'm crying. I'm like, yeah.
Oh my gosh, she showed us the video like after the fact. She came to visit and we're all like sitting on our front bed, like crying, like, oh my God, this is like what you want for your friends. Like
literally.
I showed Selena and Andrea, and then like two of our other friends. who I'm like not as super close to. And my two other friends were like, oh my God, that's so sweet. And Selena and Andrew are over here bawling.
True friends, just shedding tears. I love it.
They saw me throughout college. They saw that it just never would happen for me. And so then they were like, oh, that's what I want for you. Which is I love.
I love that.
So much. But yeah, Bradley and I have been together for 10 years now. And
Woo!
then this November, so 10 years to him, asking me to be his girlfriend, we will get married.
Yes. Very, very excited. Love it. Okay, couple questions coming out from that story. So I love that you like didn't even hesitate. You took the initiative. You wrote your number down. You said, "I'm gonna go for it," and you took your shot, right? Like you put the ball up. You took your shot. I've been finding more and more in dating that like, first of all, I don't get asked out a lot, like ever, really, like legitimate. Olivia, I think you're great. I want to take you on a date. Like that never really happens. If I'm not like taking the initiative most of the time, I find that like I probably would never go out on dates. Like even on dating apps too, like there's a lot of just kind of back and forth. And eventually I have to kind of be the one that's like, okay, so do you want to meet in person? Like you want to go on the date? But I'm also, as I speak to a lot of guys too, I realize that they are liking it. They're liking this, I don't know if it's like taking the pressure off or something, or just like, again, changing those gender norms or changing this, moving to this like untraditional way of like loving and dating and everything. Do you guys think like more women should just sort of in heterosexual relationships, more women should like take the lead in just asking out a guy and going for it, shooting their shot?
If that's who you are, then that's who you should be. Like if that's not it, I think you should just always be yourself, because then you get to know someone and they're not getting to know you. And like, you know what I mean? So if you're like, oh, I'm gonna play it cool and play it shy, but really you're somebody who's like, no, I'm a go-getter. I will take the initiative. I will go up and talk to somebody. Then like you should do that.
And
I
also
don't know.
I think also it doesn't necessarily if you feel like that's not who you are, but you feel a spark, like you feel that even that little bit of a pull to do it, then right into that and do it. Because I would not say that I was an assertive person or even am, or like I feel like I'm a mix of outgoing and shy, and I would be reserved, but I just felt this like pull, this tick in the back of my mind that says, oh, let me just do this. And so then I acted on it. And I feel like if you feel any type of intuition like that, just act on it.
Yeah, I will say Ellie's always been someone who would trust her gut. So maybe not always this like outgoing, assertive person. You could be that if you need to be, if the situation calls for it. But you're definitely someone who's like, yeah, I'll trust my gut. This is the right thing to do. Or no, I don't want to do this.
Right. And so that goes into like with how stereotypes and how like things are today. Like you don't want to seem like this. You don't want to seem thirsty. You don't want to like come off as this, but like, don't get in your head about that. If you feel like you feel it in your gut, then just go for it.
I love that. Ellie was like the universe was knocking at your door telling you, this is your future. Go get it.
Yeah.
No.
And then I listened.
Yeah. No, but I love that. Like, yeah, like just staying true to yourself. And if it makes sense and if that's what you want to do, because, I know a lot of women that, want a man to make the first move, right? Like that's just, what you need to feel desired, to feel loved. Like do that, stick to who you are and stick to, what feels right in your gut, in your intuition, right? Have Ellie's strong sense of intuition within you. Ellie's voice just in my head from now on, like, go for it, write your number down. Love it. Another question that kind of came up as you were telling your story, the I love yous, right? Like when in a relationship, do you feel it's like the good time or the best time to like to say it, right? So when that moment came up, like, or I guess after he had said it to you, because he said it first, what was the thought process behind that of just like, where was the moment that said like, yeah, this is it. I'm in love, and I'm gonna confess that to this person.
And also, mind you, I'm 23 at this time. And never truly been in love, never truly had a boyfriend, had a relationship, something sturdy, something strong, something I could actually rely on. So I wanted to be very sure myself before giving that up. And I felt like the way he said it, we were on Skype, so Skype days. And it it just like I think I like mimicked him in some funny way. And it just like fell out of him. It seemed he was like, oh, that's why I love you. I was like, hmm? And he was like, oh,
I got that. I got that.
He kind of just like let it slide. And then he ends up like, and then he sees me a couple weeks later, and he like tells me again, he's like, we both know you heard me. Like, I do love you. I was like, okay. But I still didn't want it to just be because I felt like, oh, I needed to. And so I like remember going back and like listening to love songs and like telling myself, is this how I feel? And like Googling it and like honestly just trying to do research into like, okay, is this truly
You
how I feel? And,
Googled, do I love somebody? What was the
like,
Google?
what does it mean to be in love?
Wow.
Yeah.
What came up? What were the search
I don't
results?
remember exactly what came up, but I do remember being like, yeah, I agree with that. That ticks that box. Yep, this is right. And then just, kind of just reflecting on like how he makes me feel and how we've grown and how we had been continuously building trust with each other. And so that was June when he told me that. And so I was like, okay, I know he's going to come during the 4th of July. And I made it cheesy. I was like, all right, the fireworks went off. And I turned to him and I was like, you told me not to be scared to give you my heart. And I'm not. I love you.
Oh,
Like a
That's another scene in the
movie. Oh.
movie. So yeah, that's what happened.
Love it. I love that I love that you Googled what does it mean to be in love. I think that's actually a really great exercise just to do, like, just on your own. Like, don't Google it. Like, well, I'm interested. I'm gonna look at those answers. But like for yourself, like for me, what does it mean to be in love? And like writing that down so that way if and when I experience it, I can like just kind of go through and say, yeah, this person makes me feel this, they make me feel that, like that's such a great kind of gauge for yourself, because it can be hard. It's like, am I really in love with this person? Could I really see like a future here, or is this anxiety, like is this fear, like what's really going on? So if you have that like clear guideline for yourself, like that's a incredible support right there. Last question for the both of you. What has been, really quickly, like your either your hardest lesson in love, or your greatest gift from love? And Celina, why don't we start with you?
hmm. Okay. I guess my hardest lesson in love, um, dang, I don't know. I think it's somewhere between trust and communication, and maybe they go hand in hand, but just like how to communicate myself accurately, like what I want, and then to really take the time to understand how somebody else communicates. I think that's been a really interesting lesson and not something that I've really done in any other of my other previous relationships. So I feel like this has been a lot of like introspective work on like, even I've noticed it transcend to how I communicate at work and like with friends, just being more intentional with my words.
Mm.
Um, and I also like that goes hand in hand, like it's led to that healing because like, it's been such a tough lesson. It's been such an obstacle for me to overcome that now that I feel like I've gotten a good practice and I've gotten into good habits about how to communicate, that it's been like a weight is lifted off my shoulders.
Amazing. Ellie?
I I can't help but kind of think the same, of just communication styles. Like that lesson, and also in trust, also just being that I've been with Raleigh for so long, and we've had to have a lot of trust because he still travels the world almost half the year every year. Um and we've definitely had our struggles and our ups and downs, and we've definitely learned through those, and to be able to have that trust, but to be able to communicate so that we can build the trust, and
Mhm.
like be able, and I'm definitely still learning, like, so is he. We've been together so long, but we're still learning about each other, and we still want to learn about each other, and because it's all an evolution, you're still growing, you're still changing. So as long as we want to keep doing that together, I think that is like our plan. And we the way that we communicate, I still the same, like catching myself like, I you know what, I didn't have to jump to the annoyance, like let me let me take a breath, and try to convey myself the way that he'll hear me. And he's sometimes he'll flip the script on me and be like, you used to say that I can communicate, now you're the one that's shutting down. I'm just like,
Wow.
how is this happening? I taught you too well. Like we we we've definitely had a lot of different conversations where like it has happened now, where like sometimes I will want to shut down and he will want to keep talking. And so I feel like that's good growth, that we're continually to find those balances within each other. And I think that's um still lessons that we're learning together.
I love that. Yes. Communication is key, everybody. Talk it out with your partner, with yourself, with a trusted friend. Because that's definitely like the biggest lesson for me, is just like learning how my self talk has always been, and switching it to be something more positive, something more constructive. And then also just like having this dialogue and having these conversations of asking these difficult questions to myself when I'm in a relationship, when I'm out of one, like what is it that I want? What is it that I'm feeling, right? All of that is just so important to be able to just like articulate and better tell the story of who I am at the end of the day. And I think that is the ultimate goal of what we're trying to do here at Solidarity Media, is like really telling true, authentic, honest stories. So I'm really very excited to be, doing this together with the both of you, and like having your support, having your friendship. Like it really just means the world to me in this journey and in my process. And just so grateful for you both. So like, thank you again for chatting with me today on the show.
Thank you
Yep.
for doing this. It's such an honor to be your friend, honestly. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think my mom told me this the other day, like you can really fall in love with your friends. And I've fallen in love
Yes.
with you too.
Yes.
And that's like a love healing journey within itself, of finding out more about yourself through your friends who challenge you, who build you to just be better. And I am so
Totally.
excited to follow your journey, Olivia, and
Yeah.
about it. Like let's all follow along. It's so exciting. So I'm happy to be a part of it in a little way too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, I have to like pull something off screen and like have you read it. Yeah, no, and I definitely want to have you both back as like things progress, update, talk to Ellie maybe after the wedding, see how you're feeling, all of that. So we'll be checking in very soon.
Well,
Thank
we'll
you
be
both.
following along for sure.
Thank you everyone for listening today. I really hope you enjoyed the episode. If you have any questions or comments about anything that was shared today, please reach out at solidarity_media, or you can head to solidaritymediaproductions.com to learn more. If you are listening to this podcast on Spotify, you can play some of the polls or answer some of the questions that I have down below. So please check those out. As always, if you're loving this show, please give a 5-star review, share, follow, get notified, post about us. And if you're interested in coming on and talking to me about your dating experience and relationships, again, please reach out. And I'm excited and looking forward to updating everybody on my journey. Thanks, everyone.